Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Game on Cloud 9 here, and today I'm here to bring you guys a new Bleach chapter 542 prediction. And this week's chapter, definitely the main purpose of it was to explain Ichigo's powers, how they work, and to give us explanations on why this Zangetsu is a fake Zangetsu. So, of course, we dive somewhat deep with it in this week's chapter. And it starts off, of course, with us actually having Ichigo in deep thought about when he actually first confronted Juhabak, and how when him and Juhabak confronted each other, that he knew actually where he was at, and it was a little weird that I guess in his mind that he actually knew exactly where he was at, his exact location, and that he was the one who caused all the destruction in Soul Society. And not only that, but then he immediately reminded him of someone else. So I guess you could say on a subconscious level, Ichigo knew that Zangetsu wasn't really Zangetsu, or not, maybe not that he wasn't Zangetsu, but that there was a connection there, or that he at least resembled him. And of course, Ichigo just proceeds to ask him. He's, throwing questions left and right in this week's chapter at him. You can see Ichigo's confused, he's distraught, and just in big surprise. And the fake Zangetsu answers his questions somewhat, one after another. I mean, first off, he answers the fact that he is not Zangetsu. So that is 100% confirmed. There's no freaking speculating on that. He's not Zangetsu. And actually, Ichigo asks, okay, then are you Juhabak? And then he even proceeds to say, no, I'm not. I am Juhabak, but I'm not Juhabak. He's a representation of Ichigo's Quincy powers. Now, that may raise a lot of question marks in a lot of your guys' minds right now. And it actually did a little bit for me, because it's like, okay, how can he not be him, but at the same time he's him? Well, I think in a sense, the essence, maybe personality-wise, somewhat, he is like Juhabak, but maybe he doesn't hold the will of Juhabak. Like, maybe he doesn't necessarily want to, destroy Ichigo or destroy Soul Society or anything like that. I mean, it's a little confusing for me too, but somewhat, I kind of wonder if maybe he does have a little bit of the will of Juhabak, because then Ichigo even proceeds to ask him, okay, well then why? And I'm like, are you an ally of mine, or are you, a foe? And then, he says, I'm really neither. So then it's like, that's a little strange. And if you're supposed to be part of Ichigo's powers, why would you, you would think he'd be a complete ally, like, oh no, I'm on your side. But then again, if you look at it in another way, Hollow Ichigo kind of is the same way. Hollow Ichigo, he tells Ichigo, hey, I'll take over in a minute if you ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm like, I'll be that king, you'll be that horse. So it may even be that similar thing, except that he's not trying to necessarily take over Ichigo's body, but, rather, hey, I won't help you out. That kind of thing. So, of course, Ichigo throwing all these questions left and right. The fake Zangetsu goes on, and he actually explains, this entire time, haven't you realized that, like when it comes down to me showing you how to use your powers, I never actually showed you myself. I've actually had your inner hollow actually show you all these different things, which makes a lot of sense. I can remember way back when Ichigo first started, he first went to his inner world and he fought against Hollow Ichigo, and of course no one knew that he was, really his hollow powers right when he was first introduced, although I had a feeling that there was something weird about him way back then, before we actually knew Ichigo had hollow powers, so they were confirmed. You saw him, of course, training him and all that, and that mainly was due to the reason that he can't really show him anything, because he's not, really, I guess you could say, well, he's part of Ichigo's power, but he's not a Shinigami. He's not, what's been fueling Ichigo this entire time, because we all know Ichigo actually has been predominantly using his hollow powers all this time. And anytime Ichigo's been saved, he's went into this full hollow form, which sometimes I kind of wonder if maybe that's kind of like a resurrection or something like that for Ichigo, seeing as how powerful it is. And now that we know he's been predominantly using his hollow power, I kind of figure that, maybe that could have been somewhat like the case, but I don't know. That's just me speculating right there. But we get that, not an explanation, but more or less a confirmation about, okay, you have been using predominantly your hollow power. And he even states that, look, I've been suppressing your Shinigami powers all this time. I never wanted you to be a Shinigami. I never wanted you to use the powers, because I guess I'm assuming he doesn't like Shinigami. And he didn't, not only that, but he didn't want Ichigo to live that life, that hard life of having to be a Shinigami, having to go through all those troubles, of having to fight against, of course, hollows and all that other craziness. So he wanted to keep Ichigo out of harm's way, which is why he tried to suppress his power. because he didn't actually want to eventually have to go ahead and try to, I guess, kill him. That confused me a little bit too. So there were some confusing things in this chapter when he said that, because I'm thinking, okay, you're going to destroy Ichigo from the inside out, or I'm thinking maybe he was talking about, the real Juhabak having to come and kill Ichigo or something like that. That's what I was kind of thinking, and not only that, but then he even went ahead and went further, and then explained, of course, more about the fact that he's been holding back most of Ichigo's power. And really, in essence, I mean, originally he was against it all, but he changed his mind, I guess, after seeing Ichigo go down the right path and continue going down the right path. So actually, in a sense, he was rooting him on. In a sense, I guess he was somewhat of an ally at that point. But nonetheless, he was still suppressing his power. But since Ichigo had actually followed the right path, he decided, you know what, all right, I'm gonna, I'll gladly hand over all your power to you. So you see him pull out this big old bright sword. It's, it's like covered in white, it's glowing, and he hands it over to Ichigo, and then he tells him, this is the true Zangetsu. Everything that you've been using up until this point has only been a fraction of your power. So then, of course, at the end of the chapter, we see this big bright flash, and that was pretty much the end. Now, just to get on to the chapter in terms of, the way I saw everything, I definitely figured that, we got some pretty nice answers in this week's chapter, because, confirmation and, I guess a few answers, because I was wondering where he actually stood. Did he have, like, hardcore malicious intent? Did he, after Ichigo found this out, did he plan on trying to do something to Ichigo, take over his body or something like that? The, fake Juhabak, or the fake Zangetsu, I mean. So I was wondering if that was going to happen. We didn't actually have that happen. He really is just a representation of Ichigo's Quincy power. So it kind of also makes me wonder, okay, do all Quincy's hold this fake, or not maybe fake, but these Juhabak inside of their body, maybe representing Juhabak? Does Uryu have this? Do all of them have this representation? And I'm kind of thinking maybe that's a great possibility that could be the case. And of course, later on in the chapter, then we also got, or not later in the chapter, but later on, like in the beginning of the chapter, I kind of figured that the way they explained, his whole hollow scheme, I kind of wonder if he's going to have a resurrection. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I'm glad the fact that we see his actual, real Zanpakuto is finally unleashed now. We're finally going to be able to see Ichigo's power. And the fact that they said he's only been using a fraction of his power, I guess it surprises me a little bit. I guess it doesn't surprise me too much. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what this real Zangetsu, actually can do. It definitely explains the fact why Ichigo only has one move, Getsu Tensho. That, made that the real Zan, or the fake Zangetsu, obviously wouldn't really be able to teach him much, because he doesn't know what the heck Ichigo has. Now Ichigo can get probably more abilities, learn more stuff. I don't think Ichigo will have a lot of abilities, but I think he'll at least maybe gain another ability or two after this, because it would make a lot of sense if he's about to gain all his power and actually, meet the real Zangetsu. Now, I'm kind of wondering how the real Zangetsu's personality is going to be, how he's going to actually interact with Ichigo. And not only that, but I'm also kind of wondering the explanation on the Tenza Zangetsu, because Tenza Zangetsu was, of course, a younger form, was what was supposed to be a younger form of the Zangetsu, or the fake Zangetsu. So I'm kind of wondering if it's the same thing. Is that Juhabak when he was younger? Was that maybe the real Zangetsu, or something? He only was momentarily around. I don't know, but I don't think that probably was the fake. I mean, I don't think that was the real Zangetsu. Because I think that he probably would have mentioned that, or the fake Zangetsu would have actually said, you met your Zanpakuto once before, or something along those lines. So, Ichigo definitely should get a huge power boost. Now, I'm kind of wondering how much of his power he really has been using all this time. Are they talking about when he was in his Dangai form, he was only using a portion of his power, which I'm thinking may actually be the case, or even now, I'm thinking only a portion of his power. So I'm thinking he's going to definitely be ridiculously strong after all this is said and done, after he's done talking to his Zanpakuto. I know towards the, I know probably during the course of this arc, there's either the opponents are going to just be ridiculously powerful, which I do believe a lot of them will be, or Ichigo is going to have some limits on how his Bankai works. And I was kind of thinking about, like, okay, look at Ishin. He can, like, if he gets, I think, injured too much, then he can't use his Bankai or it has problems or something like that. At least he alluded to that. So I'm kind of wondering if Ichigo's going to have that, or is he going to have time limit, or is it going to be kind of like when he first unleashed his Bankai in the Soul Society arc, and he's fighting against Byakuya, and right before Hollow Ichigo, or when Hollow Ichigo took over, he commented on how Ichigo's body was getting, like, his bones were cracking and muscles getting torn and all that because he wasn't used to using his Bankai. You know, his own spiritual pressure was crushing him. So I'm kind of wondering, is he going to have perfect control of his Bankai with all of this huge power right after this? Because looking at, you know, the enemies he's going to have to face, I mean, if he's past what he was in his Dankai form, then he's just going to be slaying them like they're nothing, unless these enemies, like Haschwald, is going to be like stronger than Aizen was in his Hogaku state. Now, granted, I do expect Juha Bach to be, but I mean, that'd be a pretty big step if Haschwald's like way stronger than, let's say, Aizen ever was or something. So I'm wondering if there's going to be some type of limit on Ichigo's power. Maybe he can't use certain things for a long period of time, but nonetheless, you know, I mean, this will definitely open up for Ichigo to have more moves and a bigger move pool. Now, I kind of wonder when he's actually going to go ahead and try to learn the Quincy powers, but right now I'm focused on seeing the new Zanpakuto. You know, it almost makes it seem like when he got his Bankai broken, that it really didn't mean much, because that was only like a portion of his power that got broken, and even that is getting reforged now. So it should be pretty fun to see these upcoming chapters. So next week's chapter definitely should be completely focused. I'm assuming should be completely focused on what's going on with Ichigo's or the new Tensei gets. I mean, Kubo could go ahead and flash over to something else, I guess, if he wanted to. But I figure since we've never seen not Tensei gets, but we haven't seen the real Zangetsu, it wouldn't make sense to flash over at all, since Ichigo is the main character. He's not a side character or anything like that. You know, so I do think that we do actually need to, you know, see this moment right here, kind of right now. You know, maybe he could flash over to something else at the end, but I kind of doubt it. I think we will probably get full focus on Ichigo again next week. I don't see anything else really happening, but I'm not Kubo, so I can't give you 100% answers on that. As for my rating for this week's chapter, this is kind of a hard one to call. I want to say, since we got some answers, in terms of like overall flow to the story, I mean, I felt like it was pretty good. The cliffhanger was definitely pretty good, because I mean, it got me excited. I was hoping that they were at least gonna show Zangetsu's face, but we didn't actually see Zangetsu's face or anything like that. A few answers, confirmation on a few things. I would say it's kind of an average chapter. I mean, it wasn't like a great chapter or anything like that. It wasn't really good. It was just, you know, average chapter, some answers, some questions, good cliffhanger. So I want to give this chapter a vice captain rating. You know, I hope a lot of you guys don't mind it. I think it was a good chapter. I don't think it was bad, anything like that. I think I'm just saying pretty much okay chapter. So I'm going with vice captain on this. That's the spiritual pressure that this one was giving off. But anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. So if you did like this video, please put a thumbs up. If you didn't, and you can put a thumbs down if you want to. Also, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content and you would like to see more. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. See you.